Hi, it's Leah Foley from Invoke Spirit. I'm a medical intuitive healer, and today I wanted to talk about how medical intuition works. Because I think it's a really common question, but one that's rarely answered. And so to start, I'm going to talk about a few methods about intuitive information. No method is really better than the other. There's just some have more limitations than others, I guess, but it's more important about how useful the information that comes through for the person getting the reading. Some methods that you might find medical intuitives use, we've got symbolic interpretation. There's psychic channels, so that would be usually a seeing or hearing, and ways that they might do that is they might scan the auric field, or they might look at chakras and then start being able to see into the body. Hearing, they might be hearing from guidance or spirit guides. There's another one which would be mediumship. So that's full body channeling. So that's either them stepping in or something stepping into them to give the information. There's empathic or feeling based intuition, and then there's also like knowing, which is probably the hardest to explain. Intuitives don't usually use just one method. It's more common that they might use two or more, or a diverse variants of them. And for me, my personal preferences are symbol interpretation, and I do tend to use empathic or feeling-based intuition as well, and there's also knowing, but I don't naturally hear things, and I prefer things not stepping into me. So, so all of these are just basically extrasensory perception. And what I mean by that is it's cutting through the illusion that there's this idea of pure separation. And what people find is that when they start developing these skills, they start to notice it more. And so it starts subtly at first, and then it builds over time until it just becomes a natural part of your life. But that's not to say that people are walking around just knowing what you're thinking, or looking into your body and looking at everyone as if they're x-rays. And if you ever develop that skill yourself or get a reading, you notice that people warm up as the reading goes along, because they're moving into a new type of way of seeing, or an extrasensory perception. I haven't seen all medical intuitives in the world, so I don't know what every single method would be like, but I have done a little bit of research, and I've had a few myself. So a bit of a summary is I've noticed that some people use scanning the aura. So I saw a video of a little girl in India, and she talks about, that she's psychic, but then she also she started to move into health-based psychic readings. And she'd say she would see the person, and there'd be like these little dark areas, and she'd click on them with her mind, and all this information would come out, kind of like a software program. And another person I got a reading from, she would scan the chakras. And I remember, like, I had my hands on the table, and she wanted to look at my solar plexus. And she said, "Oh, can you move your hands?" I was like, "Oh, okay, move my hands." And then she's looking into the body, and I was like, "Oh, what's she seeing?" And she'd start saying what's happening in the organs in those areas. And other people would give more kind of speckled, random bits of information throughout the reading. So they're different methods. For me personally, my methods, I use 3 methods, but in all those methods, there's something that I find really important, which is like a transformative structure. So people come for healing, so therefore they want to change their state. So what they need to know is where they are right now, where they want to be, and how to move from A to B, or at least the first few steps. So there's a bit of an art to that, and it's not just about the process, it's about being able to really get clear so that people have a knowing and a sense themselves, and they take that for themselves and move on. But just going back to all the things that I've researched, I've noticed that some people seem to tend towards just talking about the metaphysical aspects, and then others are very anatomy based, or cellular health, or nutrition, and things like that. And then, like, you can get really, really specific guidance for healing. I've read Edgar Casey's, some of his books. He has very specific diseases and they the people that follow that promote his work and hold his work, because he's passed on now. They have like case studies for different diseases, and then you can read what he suggested for each person with that disease. If you don't know Edgar Casey, he's the sleeping prophet. So he was probably the first documented medical intuitive before the term was even coined by Caroline Myss and Dr. Norm Shealy. And he would go to sleep and then channel all this information. People would be documenting, I think his wife and other people would be documenting information. There's like books and books of his of all the channeled stuff. And it's not just medical nutritional health, he's got all sorts of them. I find that what I found when I've been researching is that some people blend healing with their readings and others do pure readings. Other people have kind of like a conversation with you, so like it's like they feed off your responses and it builds into more of a story, and then other people just do pure channeling and reading. But with all of that, I just always say same but different. It doesn't really matter how it's done, it's whether you get the information that you really need in the end. And then with my personal readings, my methods, I've got one called the body system scan. So that's very heavily symbol interpretation. And the symbols themselves tell me where I'm in the body. They tell me the life force, the memories, the emotions, the thoughts, the behaviors, everything that I need to know in that area, root causes, and basically anything. And then I use the body systems as like a reference point. Another one that I use is called the chakra endocrine scan, and that one don't use as often because I favor the body system scan. But I put my hands over the chakras, and then all this information comes through, and I, excuse me, I tap on the information that feeling and empathic ability to be able to receive the information. But it's exactly the same. It's where I'm in the body. It's the emotions, it's the thoughts, the behaviors, it's the root cause. It's the same information, just using a different method. I like that one a little bit because the chakras can move. And they move in and out. I don't know if you can see it. Yeah, move in and out. Or I do it myself. They move in and out, and they can tell me if they want more information or something's finished yet, and whether it wants to move in what direction. And the third type that I use is the sensory structural scan, and that is developed originally from my Lomi massage. I would do massages on people, and by the end of it, you'd start receiving all this information about people. But what I really like about that one is that things show up where in the body, and you put your hands on it and you start talking, and you talk about the same thing, what's happening physically, with the life force, the emotions, thoughts, root cause, everything. But the body would start shifting and moving under your hands, and you would start knowing whether you're on the right track or not. I really like that. But I talk about these ones where you need to use your hands, and you might think that you actually need to be in the room, but you can actually use it like imagining someone's in front of you and then feeling the chakras. You'd feel your hands moving as you're talking, or you can imagine them in front of you. And like I used to put, if I get the hips, I put my hands on the hips, and you'd start feeling the bones and the muscles moving underneath your hands, even though they're not there. And that kind of brings in the idea that one, how powerful your imagination is as the channel of intuitive information, and on top of that, how much this idea of separation is such an illusion. And that's kind of the last thing I wanted to talk about. So, we talked about the mechanics, the how, but how does the information actually come through? And this requires a changing of, if you're asking this, it requires a changing of your perceptions and your ways of thinking. Do you think that you're there, I'm here, we're separate, things that are not proven by science remain a mystery and there's nothing you can do about it, about your health? Or are you looking at life and the world, that we're inherently connected in truth and all information is available to us, even for our health and well-being, and that we have the ability to influence that? So it's like asking yourself which perception that you're in, or which one would you want to be in? Yeah, I'll just leave it at that, but feel free to ask anything about that if that's not clear. Anyway, so I hope I've made medical nutrition a little bit less of a mysterious concept. If there is anything unclear, have a question, just leave a comment below or ask me. And look out for my next video. So where it's probably going to be my last one about in the series. And I'm going to talk about what's a good or a bad reading, and more importantly, how to get the most out of that reading if you do get one. Anyway, thank you for listening. Wishing you the very best of health.